ECDL Advanced, Excel, Lesson 84, Recording a Macro. It is important when creating a macro that it's planned out beforehand, as Excel records all cell and ribbon selections, so that will include any mistakes. Okay, let's open the workbook Hotel. This workbook has a print area set. So, display the Page Layout tab, click Print Area, and then select Clear Print Area to remove it. On the Developer tab, in the Code group, click Record Macro to display the Record Macro dialog box. In the Macro Name box, enter the word Name. In the Store Macro In box, select the drop-down and then this workbook. This indicates where the macro will be stored. If we want macros to be available in any workbook, then they should be stored in Personal Macro Workbook, which is always opened with Excel, although hidden. Storing in this workbook means the macro will only be available when the current workbook is open. So, select this workbook, and then press OK. Within the dialog box that we've just seen, a quick key press can be used to run a macro, but care should be taken with the letter used with the Control key, as this will overwrite any other function the key may have already assigned to it. For example, if we use the letter C, we know Control C is normally used for copy. It will be overwritten, so Control C would be used for the macro instead. Now that we've pressed OK on the dialog box, we now see the Stop Recording button, which is displayed in the ribbon in place of Record Macro. Every key press and mouse selection is now being recorded. OK, now we're going to create a macro to customize our printouts by adding your name and other fields into the header and/or footer of all documents. So, let's display the Insert tab. Within the Text section, select Header and Footer. Click in the left section of the header and click the Current Date button on the ribbon to insert the date field. Press the space bar and then type the word Draft. Then let's go to the footer. So from the Header and Footer tab, select Go to Footer. Click in the Center section and type your full name. Click on a cell in the worksheet and then from the View tab, click Normal. Okay, let's scroll up. Next, let's display the Developer tab, and now we're going to stop the recording, so select the Stop Recording button. Okay, so we've created our first macro. Next, we're going to create a macro for changing the page orientation to landscape. So, from the Developer tab, within the Code section, Record Macro, name the macro Landscape, and store it in this workbook. OK, let's record it then. Let's go for Page Layout, click the Orientation button and select Landscape. Then display the Developer tab again, and now let's stop the recording. Okay, so we now have 2 macros that we've created. We're now going to create a third. And with this one, we're going to set up a quick key press, or in other words, a shortcut to run the macro. This macro is to be created to apply a custom number format. So let's click in cell B5 and then start recording a macro. So again, Developer tab, Record Macro. Let's name it as Format. And this time in the control box, enter a lowercase f, store the macro in this workbook, and then click OK. OK, so what do we want in our macro? Let's display the Home tab and click the Number Group dialog box launcher. The Number tab with currency is selected. Change the decimal places to 0, then click OK, and then from the Developer tab, stop the recording. OK, so we've now created 3 macros. For the moment, let's save the workbook as an Excel macro-enabled workbook, so we'll remember that means the extension is going to be .xlsm, and we want to save the workbook with the name Macros. So, File, Save As. At the moment this says Excel Workbook, we're going to change that to Excel Macro-enabled Workbook. We also want the name to change from being Hotel to Macros, and then press Save. OK, we'll experiment running these macros in the next lesson, and one other point I'd like to make is the only way to amend a macro if you don't want to directly edit the Visual Basic code is to actually record the whole sequence again. OK, I hope this has made sense, and I look forward to seeing you next time.